I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, July the 3rd, getting ready for 4th of July. Going to have a good time ahead by everybody celebrating this great country and our independence, and we've got a lot of patriotism right now. I know I do, and a lot of the people that see things the way I do, and we're excited about Trump and the things that he's getting done, and just a really good time to take some time off, enjoy it with your friends and your family, and really think about how lucky we are to live here. Let's look at the board for Monday here. Even though it's a short holiday week, we still got some business going on here early in the week. August live cattle futures up 17 cents into the day at 106.90. October down 17 cents. 109.85. Starting to look, now that we got rid of June, let's look off into the fall and beyond. It looks like we're looking into higher fat cattle markets, and we still got a little bit of trudging to get through here, probably in July, and we got a lot of big numbers, but I think the worst may be over right now. And not to say the market won't dip back down, but as far as the big heavy supplies, the worst may be over. But you look way off into next spring and April, and then the fat futures are sitting at 117.90. So good times to come. August feeder cattle up 60 cents on Monday there. The grains were down big, and that probably helped your feeder cattle futures as much as anything. That and all those big specials that were held last week with the monster prices that we saw. But August feeder cattle ended the day on Monday at 150.192. October up $1.85 to end the day at 151.92 also. So the same price for August and October. But like I said, the grains were down big. Look at the Board of Trade new crop December corn down 12.25 cents at 359. Beans all the near months were down 10 cents. And a lot of that had to do with more talk of China tariffs, and I think those can get right up to the last day, and we've seen that with this administration and some of the dealings, and even after they're enacted, you know, there's nothing to say anything's set in stone. They can pretty much do anything they want to do, and I don't think people should get too awful worried about that. But of course, your futures markets, that's what they're for, is to get worried about that kind of thing. And we're usually in a weather market, and now that the corn's pretty much made, now we're looking for something else to blame the volatility on. But also favorable weather conditions up through the Corn Belt. There's some spots that are dry, but there's been some spots that's had too much water, but a lot of it. And it's just that old hot, miserable, sultry, sticky, humid kind of weather that makes the corn just fantastic, and that's what they're getting right now. Your weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade on 110,700 head. Remember, through Thursday we had only sold around 75,000 head, and then with that late surge of demand from the packers on Friday, jumped it up all the way to almost 111,000 in your 5-area feeding region. That's huge. Your weighted average price on live steers, 106.87. That was $1.87 lower than what your same weighted average was the prior week, but not as bad as we thought, and not as bad as it would have been if we hadn't had that recovery on Friday. Your dress steer weighted average, 169.90. That was $3.31 lower than the previous week. But nationwide, if you spread out there, 125,100 head total in your direct slaughter cattle negotiated sales, and only 16% of those were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. So most everything on the spot market. Let's look at some of these feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central, after all those big specials last week and selling them again, what few sales they had on Monday higher, sitting at 145.99, actually continuing to gain ground. You look at the most recent CME feeder cattle index that was available, sitting at 142.67, and I think we can do a little better than that, and I'm going to show you some prices that prove that here in a minute. But on Monday there, Joplin had a pretty good sale, 6,100 head. That's a bunch for the Monday, with the 4th of July falling on Wednesday there. Most of your sales are completely shut down for the 4th of July. Your southeast is absolutely shut down for the 4th of July all this week. The shippers have abandoned their pens. Nothing going on at all. But still 6,100 head at Joplin Regional Stockyards. There's steers, feeder steers weighing over 8 and the heifers over 6. Rick called those $7 to $10 higher. Your lighter weight steers and heifers $3 to $7 higher, but a good sale there. And it's hard to believe they can scrounge up 6,100 head. But you think how many cattle have been pumping through that barn. Just last Thursday they had about 8,000 there for that weanback special, and then they had over 9,000 there just the Monday before. And my goodness, they were putting the cattle through there. But people in that part of the country right now, we're getting to dive off into the dog days, and the heat has felt like dog days already. But that fescue is getting tough. It's getting rank in South Missouri and in that area. It's time for those guys to shuck those cattle, get in there and clip those pastures. Let this worst of the hot heat. All the cattle are going to do is stand in the ponds and under the trees anyway. So let's let a little time go by, and then they'll come back in and reload with calves. And that's why things are always so active in that part of the country in southern Missouri, in the 4-state area, really, just all the time. Good place to have a sale barn, and they've got good ones in all 4 states right in that area, but Joplin being the biggest by far. Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma National Stockyards only had 2,000 head, but did have a sale and had a few sales of steers and heifers $5 to $8 higher. But 2,000 in Oklahoma City is like most places having nothing. That's just not a good test for that big market, because they normally have a lot more cattle than that. Kind of searching for some individual quotes here early in this holiday week. Had a guy that watches this report regularly, and sent me an email on some cattle that he said we don't get a lot of information on backgrounded growing yard cattle being sold, and he's right, and just don't hear that much about them. But he told me about 2 loads of heifers moving from a Nebraska grow yard into a northeast Colorado feed yard, and so these cattle would have been pretty heavily fed, backgrounded, moving up. But 2 loads of heifers weigh 700 pounds, bring 147. It's a pretty good price there, and those aren't the green grass yearlings that we've been seeing sell, the last week or two and establishing the price on. But we're going to go back to Joplin for the big quote on Monday. And I often say, and not disparagingly, but I often say Joplin sells commodity cattle. The people there are not worried about getting blue ribbons. They want green coupons for their cattle. They're not overly worried about genetics and things like that. Not to say that there's not good purebred outfits in there, but those guys out there, they background lots of cattle. They handle lots of cattle, mostly put together kind of cattle, and they know what the value is in all kinds of cattle. The ones that you want to have is the ones that might make some money. And so you definitely want to get those, and you can't worry about how pretty they are. But in Joplin, 144 head of steers in one whack weigh 876 pounds at 147 1/4. That's a monster price, guys. And right there in Joplin Regional Stockyards, not in the Sand Hills of Nebraska. But those cattle, really ringing the bell there for those guys in Joplin. And do not forget, today, here, Tuesday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon at Downstream Casino, right there just west of Joplin, Missouri. They're going to have the primetime video. They got over 30,000 head of cattle in there. They're not just from right around that area. They're from all the way down into southern Florida, all the way out to the Flint Hills of Kansas. Now, they have just about everything you might be in the market for, you might just want to watch. To watch, get on dvauction.com or get on primetime livestock video there, and you can tie into the DV auction console. But if you get registered in there, you can bid on those cattle, but you want to watch that sale and that Joplin Video, which they now call Prime Time, is really growing and doing big things. It's the first time they've had it off-site, off of the sale barn property there. So we wish them the best of luck, and it looks like they should have a good market and probably have a whale of a sale. We're going to take a little break here with your feeder flash. There's not going to be a heck of a lot to talk about. So you guys are going to be too busy enjoying your family and your friends, shooting off fireworks, drinking beer, grilling steaks, having a good time. And I want you guys to do that. There's tons of rodeos to go to, horse races, this, that, go to the lake, have a good time. I'm not going to be back with you until early next week, and that will be coming from Reno, Nevada at the big Western Livestock Video Auction that they're going to have out there. So that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.